The best product leaders aren't just product managers. They are part psychologists, part economists, part strategists. They see the world through a lens of first principles. But how do you move from theory to practice? How do you stop being a victim of chaos and start being the architect of your own outcomes? This is the Sovereign PM, the podcast that deconstructs the ideas of product strategist Schwarzkopf to give you a more powerful way to think and lead. It's time to own your outcomes. Let's begin.
All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking a science-backed playbook for product leaders. This isn't just about surviving the daily grind. It's about actually thriving by getting a handle on stress and, honestly, completely rewriting the rules on what it means to be resilient. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, I thought it might. If you're a product manager, you're pretty much living at the epicenter of organizational chaos. And what feeling? That constant, overwhelming sense that everything is urgent. That's exactly what we're going to tackle today. We're always being told to be more resilient, to just power through it. But what if that's the worst advice you could get? What if the very solution we've been sold is actually making everything worse? That's the big question we're digging into. Okay, so let's talk about this paradox. In the world of product management, this idea of resilience has gotten twisted. It's morphed from a helpful trait into something that's not just unhelpful, but it's become a trap. And that trap, it has a name. Toxic resilience. It's this unspoken expectation that you should be able to absorb an infinite amount of pressure, be always on, and if you burn out, well, that's a personal feeling, right? Not a systemic problem. And this mindset doesn't just crush your well-being, it literally destroys your ability to think strategically, which, is the whole point of your job. So if we want a real solution, we need a better diagnosis. It's time to stop thinking about stress as some kind of personal weakness and see it for what it actually is. A massive mismatch between our ancient biology and the realities of the modern workplace. And this right here is the core of that mismatch. I mean, think about it. Our entire stress response system was built for short, intense, physical threats, like running from a tiger. It was never, ever designed for the chronic, psychological drip, drip, drip of shifting roadmaps and endless Slack notifications. This is why it's so important to realize that not all stress is bad. There's adaptive stress. That's the good stuff, that kick of energy you get before a big launch. It's useful. But then there's maladaptive stress. That's the chronic, dysfunctional hum of anxiety, but just grinds you down over time. And that's the state where most of us are forced to live, day in and day out. So here's the big mindset shift. We have to completely redefine resilience. The goal is not to have a stress-free life. That's literally impossible. The true measure of resilience is how fast and how well you can recover from stress and get back to your baseline. It's all about the bounce back. And if you're sitting there right now feeling like you're the only one drowning in this, just look at this number, 70%. That's how many of us are feeling the burn. It's this wild thing called distress paradox. We are all feeling it, but we're suffering in silence, thinking it's our own personal failure. If not, it's a shared collective experience. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Now how do we actually fix it? This brings us to the playbook, a super practical framework from Dr. Aditi Nirkar called B5 Resets. I want you to think of this as installing a brand new operating system for handling stress. Reset number one is all about data. You can't manage what you don't measure, right? The idea here is to find your personal canary in the coal mine. What are your unique early warning signs that tell you when stress is getting out of hand? Is it that nagging neck pain, snapping at your family, or maybe that awful feeling of horizonlessness where you can't see the future for your product? By identifying these signals and just scoring them, you turn a vague and just feeling into a metric you could actually track. Reset 2 is your emergency brake. It's a simple 3-second ritual. Right before you jump on that tense call or reply to that stressful email, you just stop, breathe, and be. And this isn't just a mindfulness fluff. That one deep belly breath is the fastest way to physically switch your nervous system from fight or flight mode into the much calmer rest and digest state. It's a physiological reset button. Reset 3 is all about tackling that digital fire hose. I mean, does this day look familiar? The stress starts the second you grab your phone in the morning, and it just compounds from there. It never stops, which leads to that 11 p.m. doom scroll, what they call revenge bedtime procrastination, where you're just desperately trying to claw back some time for yourself. So, what can you actually do about it? Here are 3 super practical, easy to implement hacks. Seriously, try setting your phone to grayscale. It instantly makes it boring and way less addictive. Charge it in another room to create a real physical boundary between you and your work. Then maybe the most important one, schedule short, totally non-productive breaks into your day so you're not trying to steal that time back at midnight. Okay, reset for tackles at a huge, often invisible stressor, loneliness. Especially with remote work, isolation is physiologically damaging. But the answer isn't always finding the energy for some deep, meaningful connection. Instead, you could invest in what are called weak ties. These are just short, positive, low-effort interactions, like actually chatting with your coffee barista for 2 minutes. These little moments really add up. Now, this final reset, it might be the most powerful one of all. When things inevitably go wrong, our default is to beat ourselves up, right? But that inner critic just pours gasoline on the stress fire. Self-compassion is a direct neurological intervention. This simple 1-minute practice, hand on heart, acknowledging the struggle, has been scientifically shown to calm your brain's fear center and build the pathways for true, lasting resilience. Look, all these personal resets are crucial, but they are only half the battle. If you're a leader, your biggest impact comes from changing the system your team operates in. It's time to look up from your own desktop and start redesigning the environment for everyone. And here's how you do it. First, you have to model the behavior. Go offline at 6 p.m. and loudly tell your team you expect them to do the same. Second, you have to go real psychological safety so people can talk about stress without feeling like they're going to be judged. And finally, you have to champion actual, tangible support programs. This is how you stop just treating individual symptoms and start fixing the system itself. So, we have covered a ton of ground here, but it really all boils down to one big idea: installing a new operating system, both for yourself and for your team. One that's designed not just for bare minimum survival, but for sustainable thriving. This slide really says it all. It's time for an upgrade. We're moving away from that old, buggy OS of toxic resilience, where you just absorb pressure and blame yourself. We're upgrading to the new OS of sustainable thriving, where the focus shifts to managing your recovery, intentionally disconnecting, and treating burnout as the systemic problem it is. So let's end on this thought. As a product manager, your entire career is about designing, building, and improving products. But the most important, most complex product you will ever manage is you. So the real question to walk away with is this: how are you going to take these tools and redesign your own operating system?
And that brings us to the end of this debrief. Our goal is to give you not just ideas, but a more powerful way to think. If you found value in this discussion, the best way to support this work is to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future session. And if you know a fellow product leader who is wrestling with these same challenges, feel free to share this episode with them. As always, you can find the link to the original, in-depth article by Karsten Schwarzkopf directly in the description below. Thank you for your time and your attention. Stay sovereign.